Conquer. Still rocking it in the school of life. Get ready to stir your mind. You found the 100% Richard Podcast. He's living life and loving Jesus. 100%! It's the 100% Richard Podcast.
All right. I know it's been a long time. The last show we did was back in April of 2024. It is now October of 2024 of the day of recording. And I'm still here talking about living life, loving Jesus. And today I have my wife with me, and we're going to continue the show that I did last. I was by myself that day in April, and called Opportunity to Conquer. And I ended that show saying to be continued. So this is it, Opportunity to Conquer
Part 2.
And we saw, and God kicked cancer's backside.
Yes, he did.
So we're going to actually talk about some stuff today, and I'm going to throw in a couple of quick things. If you like my beard, make sure to go to wildbull.shop. Check out their beard products, and if you're watching on YouTube, because this will be uploaded on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, do all this stuff, and help keep me going. And so I have my wife. This is my wife, Brandy.
Hi, everyone.
We've been married for 34 years.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I'm a ma'am now? Man, that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole Yes, sir.
We have no notes today because we're specifically just want to really kind of just talk about the situation that came up. What was that, like September of last year?
September of last year.
And
the very end of September last year. My wife was diagnosed with cancer. If you watched or listened to the last show, that's where the term Opportunity to Conquer came from, because, something that I mentioned in that show was, everybody goes through stuff, big, little, small, everybody goes through stuff. And every time we go through something, it's an opportunity to conquer that thing. And, we got the diagnosis. I always say we, I didn't get it. You got it, but we're one.
We're one. And we're going to kind of base this whole show off of Hebrews 11:2. What didn't you put that down in a note somewhere? Like I said, we have no notes. So
On my phone.
So I asked her to look it up a minute ago.
All right. So for by it, the elders obtained a good testimony.
For by what?
Their faith.
Their faith. And at the end of the last show, one of the things I mentioned was that we're going to tell the story. And, that's what I always take that verse and I think of it as the backside of faith. Because when you have faith to see God move, there should be a story attached to that. And that's when it said, by faith, we've attained the elders obtained a good testimony. So that's us telling our story after the good thing happened, or sometimes even after the bad thing happened and it turned into something good, because God will take bad and turn it into good,
Yes, he will.
And so we were at Disneyland for our anniversary, and you found a lump, and they said that the blood counts looked good.
They said the blood counts said, according to the blood counts, there was no cancer. So that was our report right before we went to Disneyland for our anniversary.
Yeah, that was our 34th anniversary. 33rd anniversary, right? We've had an anniversary since then, yeah. So September of 2023.
Yes. And so we enjoyed ourselves. I mean, I was uncomfortable, but we were optimistic going forward. Okay, well, let's get it removed and it's all good. We came back, and a couple of weeks later, the official biopsy results came in, and they said, oh, well, it is cancer. And so now we have to, do all this other stuff. And that's when all the craziness started. All the craziness.
Oh, that's when all the craziness started. Well, I think letting people know what our initial reaction was
Because people hear that word, people hear you have cancer, and the doctors just tell you it's yours. Here's your cancer. Now we have to deal with it. Well, you are diagnosed with cancer and we deal with cancer. We don't have cancer. God's going to heal that. But to kind of have an understanding I think I mentioned that, yes, we were worried. Yes, we were, all these things, all these emotions came. I was very angry on the inside. I don't think I showed it. I'm pretty good about that after all these years. not letting you know, man, Papa's pissed
angry.
off. and what was your, I know we sat there with the doctor and your face in looking at you when the diagnosis dropped, your face just like went pale. So what was your initial thoughts at that time? If you remember, it's been a while. So.
Yeah. So I think initially it was like, okay, now what? Like, I know nothing about cancer treatments. I've heard chemo, I've heard radiation, but what am I actually going to have to go through to get rid of this? Because I knew it's going to go away. God will take care of it. And you mentioned in your last podcast, I think, that he focused on Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
And that story had been in my head for several months, actually.
Prior to this?
Prior to this.
Yeah, okay.
Once I found it, because I found the lump in late July.
Yeah.
And of course, red tape, getting doctors, getting biopsies.
Oh, my goodness.
all the
Health
stuff.
system. Never mind. I won't go there.
That's a whole nother show. But, so that just kept popping up. And I was like, okay, God, yes, I'm for you. I'm worshiping you. You are in control no matter what. But in the back of my mind, I was like, but please don't let it be. I still don't want it to be. And I shared with my pastor and she prayed and she brought up, but even if, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was kind of prepared that yes, we're going to go through some stuff.
We're going to go through some stuff.
Get it, go through whatever. But then God's got it. He was with us and he would be with us through everything.
Through the whole process. Because I know initially I swallowed everything, and my first real thought was, okay, I have to be there for you. And, I kind of had to take that. This is going to suck for the next long while, and how do you, there's no book. How do you take care of your wife? Well, there are books, but a lot of stuff I actually read. I was just actually telling you this before we started this, is a lot of the things that I went to look up after all this started was, how does the band support? How does the band do this? I'm starting to look up all these things. I'm not going to put titles out there or anything like that, but a lot of people were just like, cancer is no good. Just leave her, and this is the influence that's out there in the world, and so now I have to take, okay, my pastors are telling me everything's going to be fine. I know God's going to take care of this. And then I read the article online that says, get out the house as fast as possible. So all the things that come in and start to mess with our thoughts, in the process of this, that was really hard to deal with. And I know walking to the car, we both kind of stopped and looked at each other, and we both, if I remember correctly, said, hey, I think, I said, God's got this. We're going to be just fine. Do you remember that?
Oh,
or is
yeah.
that, am I making stuff
that.
up?
I remember that.
And that's really the attitude that we had to take was, okay, we put this in God's hands. And that's really what we had to do. And then we had to wait until they set everything up. Oh my God, it was referrals. If you are in California and you're on a health program, get out now. No.
But we were definitely set up with the right people. I remember going to the oncologist and, they do the health history and, do you have high blood pressure? No. Do you have diabetes? No. No.
Yeah.
No. I don't take any medications like I do all this. I said, other than, the fact that I've been diagnosed with cancer, I'm pretty darn healthy. And the doctor said, well, we're going to kill the cancer, so then you're good. And I was like,
that was such a positive
I
thing.
was
but
like,
yeah.
yes, I've got the right doctor.
Yeah. So, but we still had to jump through some hoops, and and I know some people go, well, I think I mentioned in the last show, back in April, it was a while back, but I mentioned in the last show, yes, you did. You got prayed for. A couple of times, we obviously prayed at home. We told pastors, and we didn't go telling everybody, hey, my wife's got cancer, because some people just don't pray right, or they're gonna, we believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, God, and I don't want you rubbing a crystal for me, so we did not go tell everybody we know, so we kind of kept it on the down low with very particular group of family, and spiritual family, so on and so forth.
Yes.
So we didn't go around just telling everybody everything. And, which is probably a good thing, because, the way the enemy works, people sneak in and tell you this and that and so on and so forth. And, because I remember we had a guest speaker at church. I think it was actually one of the a movement conference or something.
It might have been.
Might have been a movement conference. And the pastor, they came and grabbed you out of kids ministry. This is my wife. I'm going to say this right now. My wife gets diagnosed with cancer. We're in the process of starting a new church in the Hemet San Jacinto area, Generations Church. We're launching a new campus, and my wife takes control of the kids ministry and runs the whole thing while being diagnosed with cancer. This is how we treat and how we understand how God works.
Keep going.
We're just going to do it anyway, right? and to me, that is the most powerful thing I think that you could have done was just continue to do the things that you're supposed to do, because you kept working. Yeah. And God set that up too. Talk about that, because that's an interesting concept.
So, a couple years ago, so I've been with a charter school this is my 6th year. I've worked online. I've worked on campuses. I've had to drive an hour and a half some years. I've worked 3 minutes away on a campus. So a lot of different positions within this company. And a couple years ago, I ended up on a campus, and I was like, I really want to work online. I really like the virtual platform. And so last year they put me back online. So I was 100% working from home, and, then I got this diagnosis, and so being able to, see my students or do my work, and then, kind of just sit and rest for 10, 15 minutes and then jump back in. I'm in my nice comfy office. Richard got me an amazing chair.
That's right.
So,
I got her a great chair.
He was able to take care of me while I'm here, and not having the stress of, fights on campus or, whatever drama is going on campus. So it was really the perfect place for me to be.
Yeah, it was actually, and we can't lose your insurance.
Yeah, so I had to continue working.
So you had to continue working, in which I was like, oh my God, I would prefer that you didn't.
Well, yes,
but to a couple of understandings is, you make more money than I do. We still have to pay our bills.
Just currently.
Just I gotta throw it out there. I'm gonna pretend like I hate that. And we had to keep our insurance, because your insurance comes through there. I'm on disability, so my insurance comes from the government. So, and so that's so in order for God to place us at home during the whole process is a blessing, because you're able to do the job, and because you never not go to work, you had like 15 million years of sick time,
hours.
And so when the chemo started, you had no problems. They had no problems with you taking the time off.
I did. I took, being a teacher, I automatically have 3 weeks off, towards the end of the year. We have Thanksgiving off. We have 2 weeks over Christmas. And so I took the time in between. So I had a full 6 weeks off. I had plenty of time to cover that 3 weeks, just to see how I would react.
How are you going to react to this chemotherapy?
Yeah. Because I'd heard horror stories. And so I was able to, get through it, make adjustments, and know that when I came back in January, I was good to go, even
Yeah.
on chemo days.
And what was nice was because you kind of we were able to go, okay, well, you go to chemo on Tuesday, you this is what's going to happen for the next 5 to 7 days.
Yeah.
And at this point, you're going to start to come back, and then you're going to go again and start all over. So the cycle is constantly in this constant circle of uncomfortable, good, uncomfortable, good, uncomfortable, good. And to from my point of view, I'm watching all this kind of go down, and I can't. When somebody has a cold, you go, let me get you some ibuprofen. Let me get you some orange juice. Let me get you a rose. Things of that nature. Things of that nature. But when it's continuous,
yeah.
I know that every Tuesday, or basically every Wednesday morning, for the first couple of weeks until we took care of your hair, I had to hold your hair back, for those purposes. It reminded me of the 80s.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on. You love me and you know it.
I do.
But, so, having to hold, do those kinds of things, and looking at it from the outside, was, for me, it was kind of, scary, and then I told you the day that you crashed really hard on the couch.
He was afraid that I had stopped breathing because I guess I was just so still lying on the couch because I could fall asleep.
Oh,
Even if I was watching a favorite movie, like I was just out.
I'm sitting in my chair. I have a big comfortable chair. Thank you to my daughters who pitched in and got me a super comfortable, awesome dad chair. You guys are awesome, and I'm pretty sure that one of my daughters paid more than everybody else. I won't say which one.
Moving on.
But to see the doctor that we ended up with was so positive, still is,
Yeah.
and we finally got him a sense of humor. That was funny. So we'll talk about your
He's very
serious when that comes up. So how long were you doing that first round of chemo? Almost a year?
It was it was the week of Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner was very interesting last year. And then it went all the way up to the very, very end of March. And then I had surgery in April.
Yeah, that's right. Because April is when I did the last show. Mm-hmm. And so so all of this is why there's a big gap between shows because, they're focused on, I'm focused on you. So I'm like, I can put the show to the side. And when the time comes, we'll bring it back. But I really felt that at surgery time, it was time, I'm going to actually let some of this out of me, because I was having, I'm not really good with communicating with people. I mean, if you watch the show, you think I'm a good communicator because I can do this, but I don't have, I don't carry I'm not good at carrying friendships where I can call up a buddy and be, hey, let's go have coffee, or whatever. And let's talk about problems and pray and do that kind of stuff. I do now because the family that we got attached to at Generations Church, the Hemet campus that we, started out there. So if you don't have a home church, look up Generations Church. We have like multiple campuses, all over Southern California and, Mexico. So quick plug. But the community that we developed, I was able to communicate with several people and have conversations and feel and be able to release things. And so I decided to do the show because we were coming up to have surgery and we went, I keep saying like I did something, but we went full bore on that because, it was probably the best thing to do. I mean, because when we say surgery, you had a mastectomy. So, yes. And so kind of walk us through that, your thought process and all that.
So there's a lot of options. So having reconstruction with the, like the tissue from my stomach and all that was not an option for me. A partial or a lumpectomy was not an option for me. They said,
you can't.
The left one has to go. Yeah. And I was like, take them both. Like, I don't care at this point. I'm done. I plug for your mom. My mother-in-law said, they're past their use by date. I thought that was hilarious.
They're past their use by date.
I'm not nursing babies anymore, so we're good.
And I'm a butt guy, so
that's what made the doctor
finally got the doctor to laugh.
So I had to actually fight to get both because I didn't want to have to go back and have reconstruction on one side. I just wanted to be done with it. And so they were like, well, okay. And they all these warnings that, well, the chance of infection on the non-necessary side are super high, and all of this. And I was like, I'm not worried about that. And it was funny when I did go back for my follow-up, the only problems I had were on the side that was medically necessary, and the doctor was really shocked.
Yeah, well, that's because of the lymph nodes.
Yeah.
Right. So, but what happened with that, where because you're like, I'm going to be as real as possible here, because you think, okay, well, because the chemo, I remember the doctors actually said that the chemo shrunk the tumor way more than they thought it would.
Yes.
So there was an overabundance of shrinkage that they had a hard time actually finding the tumor.
Yes.
Right. It was there, but they had a hard time finding it. And
it was like 0.00 something.
It had shrank so much, and they were like totally in shock. So we know God's part of all this, and for that to totally be that small. And you actually had two surgeons. So the first surgeon we had, there was something happened that we couldn't use that guy. Remember?
Yeah. So in November, before I started chemo, I had surgery and I had a port put in, so they don't have to use my veins to do the chemo. So that was supposed to be the surgeon that did my mastectomy. And when I called to make the appointment, they said, oh, well, we can't schedule that because the machine is broken at the hospital that we are connected to. I was like, okay, that's,
yeah, it's
really
like a weird
strange.
thing, yeah. And that's the hospital where we live. The hospital doesn't have a good reputation.
No.
We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. And so, I had to go through the insurance company, all that. So I ended up at
Loma Linda,
a really good hospital, really good, reviews and reputation. So again, we were put where we needed to be. We were lined up where God wanted us to be.
To have the right people, do the right job, to do all the right stuff, and
the right follow-up care.
All of that was out of the blue. So like, oh, by the way, this machine broke. Well, thank you, Lord, for breaking that machine. I don't know if he broke it. Somebody else broke it on his behalf. I don't know, but
my timing was good.
It opened the door to have. I don't know if the surgeon's better or not, but to have better aftercare and things of that nature, because we got to go to a hospital that has a higher reputation and that kind of stuff. So that made a huge difference, and that's part of this story. Part of the backside of faith is knowing that. You're going into something blind. Surgery is freaky to begin with. You're asleep and you wake up missing something, or you wake up with a new thing. And like when I had my stomach done. Am I skinny yet? No. Yeah. It's gonna take a minute, but you fall asleep and then you wake up different. And so you want to make sure that person knows what they're doing and is going to do a great job. And that woman was fantastic.
She was.
And she goes, when I remember we went to the follow-up appointment, and she was like, did they tell you? I said, no. She goes, I have the report. And she had this big smile. And that's the moment that she said, no, we got the tumor, and we got it. And we got the cancer from the lymph node, which my understanding is that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
To actually get it from the lymph node, to get all of it. And they said they got it all. And so we were like, whew, okay. And she had this huge smile, and she was really cool to work with, and really, really great. I thought she was great. And very, very enthusiastic about the way she did her job. And it was really, really kind of nice to get over that next thing. And then we were like, oh, cool, no more chemo.
Yeah, well.
Trick. So now I got the doctor to laugh because I said I was a butt guy. And he looked at me like, am I allowed to laugh at that? I won't have my wife stand up and show you. But because if you think she's sexy, we're going to fight.
This is why we're still in love after 34 years.
So looking at so now we're in this next process of what's the word, preventative medicine. Is that the right term? So we get back to the oncologist, and he's got news we didn't really want to hear. you know.
Yeah. So, back on chemo, but not the same chemo. So the first chemo made me very sick. Like he was saying, I would have chemo on Tuesday. By Friday, I was extremely ill. I was not really able to eat for a couple days. You know, I was drinking protein shakes just to make sure I stayed hydrated and you know.
Well, we got so much liquid
weight.
running around.
Yeah. And then, so this new chemo, it's a preventative measure. I'm really tired, and I know that sounds, it's a very vague thing.
Yeah.
And it does, you can't see it. So it's hard to explain to people, but you know, I can't do what I want to do. Very frustrating for me. You know, he used to tell me, would you please just sit down and watch a movie? Like, stop moving, because.
And now I'm like, can you get up?
Right, can you do something? Because I was always, I'd sit down for a minute and then I need to do that. So I was always doing something, and I can't do that now. So
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of movies. I've binge watched several series.
But you never stop doing church stuff.
No.
No.
I save my energy for the things that are really important.
Right.
So I make sure I have energy for Sundays, for setup, for whatever.
Our church is portable,
doing.
so that makes.
Yeah, so we set up in a school, so we set everything up and then we tear everything down. Sometimes we're speaking on stage, and so I have to make sure I have a little more energy. So I save up for that. If I know, girls' night is coming up, or when we have the conference, we make
4
sure
days, 4
to
days of
get a
conference.
hotel close to our Moreno Valley campus, so that we didn't have that extra hour drive back and forth. I could get more rest. We take measures to make sure we have the energy to do the things that we really, really want to do.
And we don't lose focus on other stuff, because this can really take focus away from other things.
Yes.
And the show, is an example of that. It pulled me away from the show. Nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem not doing it, in all reality, because of what's happening, I'm not mad at you for it. I can't do my show, but it's one of those things that, because you can overly focus on it, or you can continue with life. And to make that decision to continue with life, we're just going to, and making the adjustments in order to continue with life. That's what I think watching you through this process is. And it took me a while to kind of grab hold of that, because I'm like, normally would you sit down and take a break? Like you just said, normally I'm like, can you slow down, and now I'm like, can you get up and do something? Which is, I'm not negatively, it might come across that way sometimes. We have been married a long time, but to go through that process of having to make the adjustments, and then, and moving forward, and just moving forward, and just moving forward, and just moving forward, and just moving forward, and to not necessarily look at all the things that are happening as a negative, because I don't look at any of this as, well, now we can't do this, or now we can't. We still went to Disneyland. We had passes, so we still went to Disneyland. But what we did was we made the adjustments. Okay, this is going to be the time frame that you're going to be good, or should be good. Not always were you, so we would go to Disneyland, sit on Main Street, and go home. Because
it is just nice.
Sometimes that's just nice, and so we did everything we could to not change life.
Yes.
And to just continue to do the things that God has for us to do, to communicate the things that God has for us to communicate. And other people see us and go, wow, those guys are nuts,
We've heard that.
Yeah, and because we just continued to do, and you just continued to do, and we didn't let it hinder us, and I think that's a story that I think anybody that finds themselves in a situation like this, you say, you get diagnosed with cancer, and I know all cancers are different. Some chemos are different, you may handle it differently. You may, do those kinds of things, and it's different for every person. But the more that we can actually move forward and do everything we can to continue life as if nothing's changed, the healing process is to me
better.
is better for you. You know, can you attest to that?
It's that sense of normalcy. You know, our lives drastically changed,
Oh yeah.
but we kept as much of our normal as we could.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it.
That's kinda it, yeah.
Whatever, you know, we kept the important stuff. And yes, going to Disneyland as a couple, that's important. That's actually important for our marriage.
Yeah,
You know, to spend
that's our
that
date
time.
night. That's our thing, you know.
So those kinds of things, like we kept what was important to us. And so that was still our normal. The extra details, you know, no, I'm not painting rooms in the house every week. You know, things like that. Things like that changed. But the important stuff stayed the same.
Yeah, we did everything we could to adjust accordingly and still do life, you know, and not. I guess to say we didn't let it hinder us. That's a great way to say it. We didn't let it hinder our direction, you know, and you know you eventually did have to not do kids church for a little while, you know. So
yeah, I became a little much, but I'm still serving.
You're still serving. You're still doing all
every
stuff.
week.
And you get on stage with me to do the guest welcomes and the stuff like that, and you still take care of stuff. And here at home, I sweep and do more stuff than I normally did. You know, I mean I stepped up into the vacant spot, you know, and we got rid of your car because now I drive you everywhere, you know, which I actually don't mind that to be in reality. And it's cheaper. We only have one car, you know, so it's less expensive for us. So some things were actually better, you know, and my mustache just got stuck in my microphone. Too much stuff in the beard. So now we're at. You went through your first round of chemo. You got the surgery, and now we're in the process of the preventative chemotherapy, whatever they're calling it. And we just had your last PET scan, and
it was all clear.
All clear.
I said, "Are you sure? I got a little thing right here. There's nothing there, you know." Because now, of course, anytime something comes up, I'm like, okay, could it be? Like, do we need to check? But yeah. And he was like, no, there's nothing anywhere. There is no cancer. And your response was, so why are we still doing chemo? Like, why do we still
got to do this?
And it's just, like you said, it's maintenance, it's preventative. If there is something microscopic that got missed, like nothing is going to make it past this chemo. So, you know, just going forward, and that'll go through May. I wanted to follow up on you were saying, you know, we continued to do things. And we had just signed up to start GCMS.
Yeah. School. Yeah.
In August. And I was diagnosed in September.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well, this is going to be a bit. And we were like, well, we just keep doing it.
Yeah. GCMS, just to get some context in there. GCMS is our church's ministry school. So it's called Generations Church Ministry School. And just to throw this out there, me and my wife have both been to Bible college. We have bachelors in theology, but this is a ministry school that is really kind of helps you move forward in ministry, not just learn the Bible and then throw you out there to the wolves, you know. So we started that because we believe we're going to be moved into positions or whatever's going to happen with us. So we stepped into that on purpose. And you know, sometimes when you step into a thing, you have to deal with a thing. And so we stepped into that, and you got diagnosed with this, you know. And I remember when I started Bible college all the way back, you know, in 2000, early 2000s, that's when, you know, I got diagnosed with degenerative disc and degenerative joint disease and lost my job, and a bunch of craziness happened. And, you know, and what did we do? We went through school, we did the same, we just kept going. And, you know, so we ended up with all these things. But to get that scan back, you know, compared to the day that they said you have cancer, you know, that's the doctor's words, not, you know, you're going to now deal for the next couple of years, you're going to deal with this thing, and your face going pale, you know, sitting in the doctor's office. And then he gives us the results of the PET scan, says we can't find anything in there. And the exact opposite, the lighting up of like a fresh LED light bulb, just boom, popped up. And my first thought was that's the story, is that, that's the backside of faith, so, and that's exactly what Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego did. They walked into the fire. And if you go listen to the last show, Opportunity to Conquer, because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they said, we're not going to bow down to this God. And we said, we're not going to bow down to this cancer. Yep. And they said, no matter what, even if God doesn't show up in this, we're still gonna treat it as if it's gonna be healed. No matter what happens in this, we're gonna believe that this is done, and we're not gonna have to worry about it anymore. And then when Jesus shows up in the middle of the fire, and that's one of the things that I think, as we've gone through this process together, you've obviously had more of the stuff, obviously, but going through the process together is, sometimes Jesus shows up in the fire. Mm-hmm. And that's when he shows up with Shadrach, Meshach, he shows up in the fire. They had to actually go inside the fire pit or inside the fiery burning furnace. They had to physically go inside there, and it had to physically get lit. Yep. And that's when Jesus showed up, and they came out with no scars. They came out with not even a singe, not even the smell of smoke. Now we're going to have scars. You've had surgery, there's things that we have to see every day in the mirror, and, those kinds of things. But it's also when I look at it as that's a reminder of what God can do. Yep. So even though we walk in the fire, even though we stand in a place that sometimes is uncomfortable, we get bad news, we get hurt, somebody says something bad. And I always look at things from a simple point of view sometimes, because sometimes the simple point of view helps you understand the big picture. Because, if you wake up in the morning and you have a headache compared to waking up in the morning and having cancer, God can heal both. Yep. And and no matter where you are at in the process. And so sometimes we go, I don't want to go through the process. I just want to get healed, and you were going through, and you'll still continue to go through certain processes for the next several years because the doctors want to, verify. Yeah. Lots of testing. But that doesn't mean we don't continue to believe. So over the next, so you just did what's it called? A PET scan? PET scan. So the PET scan scans everything and checks for all that stuff. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Head to toe.
Yeah, head to toe. And they said that's totally clear.
Yes.
So totally clear. So we saw God conquered. Yes. And we see God conquering in this whole process, in this whole thing. We see the miracle that can happen even when you're going through the process. And just to kind of put it in perspective is, I'm going to continue as the show continues. I'm going to be meeting with a friend of mine on Saturday. We're going to do a show. And so the show's going to move forward. Just letting you know, we're going to continue the show. I may actually have my wife on more just because we have great communication with each other. And sometimes people need to see that, that you can communicate with your wife and you can communicate with your husband. And I may get preachy and you sit there and stare at me, but that's okay.
That's where you shine.
Yeah. So, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing a show with a friend of mine, and we're going to talk about demons and stuff. So it's going to be kind of interesting. So, I got a lot to say about that stuff. And so we're going to talk about that kind of stuff coming up, not immediately, but it's in the works. So I have a couple of shows that I'm going to throw in between time. And so 100% Richard is going to rise back up. And I'm going to tell you why, because I now feel comfortable that my wife is 100% healed, that God took care of business. And I can stare across this little tiny table in this beautiful office that she lets me function in. So just on the other side of the camera is her half of the office. But she lets me function on this half of the office. And I call it a studio. It's not really a studio, but and to be able to sit across this today, look at my wife in the eye and just know how powerful and how strong, and that to see you complete and whole is just, that's the story. And that's the story I want to tell. And to know that we walked through this together, you didn't leave me, I didn't leave you. God took care of business, and he's going to continue to take care of business. So every scan that continues to come will continue to be clear. And we just believe that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
And we agree with that. And I know a lot of people around us in our family of believers agree with that. And we're just going to continue to see God move through this, and to be able to say we came and we continued the story, and it was positive. It is positive. And I believe that if we continue to have a voice in this process, people can learn from it. And that's why I wanted to put it out there. And thank you for allowing me to put it out there and being a part of it today. Are you okay over there?
I'm okay. You're crying. I'm crying.
Yeah, you get all mushy. I'm going to blow my nose on live. No, I'm glad we're not live. But so I'm going to go ahead and say this, and we're going to take off. Is there anything you want to throw in there before we go away? Not go away, but you know what I mean.
Well, I'm glad you're going to be able to start doing this again, because this is your outlet. And I know you didn't really have that outlet during all of this. You did find some good friends that you were able to confide in. And that's very important, because I know I needed a lot of care, and you took very good care of me. But I started worrying about you because I know you hold things in.
I'm a Vulcan.
It is very important to have those people that you can reach out to for support, and know that you're going to get godly counsel and direction. Not like some of the articles and things you read. They're like, oh no, you got to leave. You had godly men that were able to support you and give you wisdom and support going forward. And so having this outlet back is going to be really good for you. I know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me my outlet back. No. So 100% Richard is going to, over the next couple of months, probably start to eventually get back to doing a weekly show. And I will probably have my wife on every now and then to continue the story, because I think it's important. And so I just want to thank the people that still listen. Since from September to April, there was no show. From April till now, April of 2024 till now, there was no shows, and the last show said to be continued. So this is the continuation of that. This is the story that we wanted to tell. This is the thing that I can say. God stepped in, God took care of things, and it may have been people's hands, but it's the Spirit of God moving in them.
Yes.
And it may have been medication, but it's the Spirit of God giving the right diagnosis and the right people, the right tools to do the job. And sometimes we forget that that's possible, and that's the way things sometimes work. And, we're going to continue to move forward, and we're going to continue to see what God has planned for you and I, for us as a team. And we're actually starting to see some good stuff happen together, because a lot of times you've been in kids, and I've been on the stage, and doing stuff separately. So it's really kind of nice to take you up on stage on Sunday mornings and do that guest welcome and be together when we do stuff. And so I just can't wait to see what God does with this next, and what God does with us next, and to see what God does with you guys next. And once again, thank you for hanging out with me. I know it's been a little bit of time here. And I just realized I did not record the audio, but it's recorded on video. So I'm going to have to yank the audio off of that. So hopefully everything came out right, and we don't have to do this again. So I'm going to leave us with this. God can do amazing things if you're willing to let him do them. You have to be able to say, God, take care of this. And no matter what the thing looks like, no matter where we stand, no matter how hard it feels, and no matter how crushed we feel, God will take care of it. God will move on your behalf. And you will have an opportunity, what I call the backside of faith, to tell the story that people need to hear, and that people need to hear to get to know God better and move forward. And so just once again, thank you for listening while we were gone, and keeping the downloads up and the views up on all the stuff. And I'm looking forward to the shows that come next and the things that we continue to talk about. And have a great afternoon or evening or day or whatever it is where you are. Right on.